My girlfriend was addicted to opioids. We've all made bad choices. We don't always know that they're bad choices, but just after the fact. Being in a relationship is tricky. We fall in love, we trust until. If you've been involved with a narcissist or a drug addict, or if you're currently are finding that things are not quite right in your relationship, whether it's family, friends, love, and you don't know why, well, this episode is for you. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Woman's Spark with Janik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they carry, the strength that gets us up every time, a place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day. This podcast is to help you heal and become the best version of yourself during the roller coaster of life. We're building a community of women that wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united as we were born to be. Today, we're going to discuss the topic of being in a relationship with a narcissist who ended up being addicted to opioids. Did you know? First of all, what is a narcissist? Well, it's first of all the clinical narcissist, meaning the trait that relates to the narcissistic personality disorder. The subclinical narcissism is high need for admiration, low empathy, charm and confidence, especially early on, and entitlement. Who is more likely to end up with a narcissistic partner, you ask? Well, you'll have the people with high empathy, the giver, the people who want to be warm and supportive and emotionally giving partners. Number two is people with anxious attachments. So people with fear of abandonment, craving closeness. Number three, people going through a vulnerable phase, whether it's separation, divorce, breakup, career instability, low self-worth periods. Number four is high achievers, and even high achievers and independent women. Surprisingly, research shows that narcissists are often drawn to those people because they are successful, attractive, and socially respected partners. Obviously, they want to have a little bit of that light. So why does a narcissistic relationship feel strong at first? Well, it's because the studies describe it as a pattern called the love bombing, intense attention, fast emotional connection, big promises early on. And so the research insight says that narcissists score high in short-term mating strategies. They're often perceived as more attractive, more charismatic, and more confident. Today, we're speaking with Saige Whitney. She's the creator of the podcast, A Light Out Narcissistic on Spotify. She's had her share of challenges and is here to shine a light on what she went through to guide other women who might be currently living in a similar situation, even if you don't know it yet. Narcissism, opioids, and drug addiction, and a whole lot of boundary crossings. When we come back, we're going to welcome Saige. Welcome back to a Women's Spark podcast with Janik. On the show today, we're welcoming Saige Whitney. She's the creator of the podcast, A Light Out Narcissistic on Spotify. She's had to learn to say no, protect her energy, and recognize toxic dynamics. They transformed her idea of self-love and empowered her to teach others how to do the same. She has her experience with narcissistic behaviors and has become the foundation of her to help women redefine what self-respect and empowerment mean in their own lives. And it is important to reiterate the podcast that she has because it will be helping a lot of people who are dealing, as we mentioned in the previous introduction, with narcissistic relationships, whether it's friends, love, or family, and maybe even people with drug abuse. So the podcast is called A Light Out Narcissistic. Please welcome our spark of the day, Saige. Hi, Saige.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for reaching out to us because, as I mentioned at the end of every podcast, I say, write us and we'll connect together. If you've lived an experience that you want to share with others to allow other women to feel to feel seen and understood if they're going through this, even if they're not quite sure they're going through something unpleasant, but yet in their body they feel it. Thank you for contacting us to share your story, to give light to other women.
I love your podcast. I love what you do. I in this experience with my narcissist, it's so crazy and so insane that I have had almost no one to talk to about it because they just can't even fully grasp this situation.
Eh,
So you're providing a space for that. Thank you.
My pleasure. And you know what? Yet there's so many people who are dealing with narcissists nowadays. And thankfully, we're talking about it more and more, and we can recognize it more and more. But there are still a lot of people in the dark. And when you're in love, or when you're in love with your friend or your lover, sometimes, the blindfold is on, and we don't fully understand why our body's telling us that we should be doing something about it. So let's jump straight into it. Can you tell us about your story, Sage?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a assistant activity director at a skilled nursing facility. So, for people that don't know what that is, it's also called a sniff in the nursing world and the CNA world. It essentially is a place where people can go after surgery. We have a lot of people that have strokes and have to live there. We also have elderly people that will be their home for the rest of their lives. You can receive physical therapy and occupational therapy there also. So, I was working there and there's a patient in my podcast. Her name is Asia. So that's who I will be referring to. She was 22 and we were friends. I worked also as a manager at a pizza place at that time. So we would hang out after hours, after I was off of shift. I would bring her pizza and I would get to know a lot of the residents that were friends with her. It was we bonded a lot. And after I'd only known her about 2 weeks in that time, she had texted me and asked me to marry her.
Hmm. Marry her within 2 weeks. Okay. Tell us more.
Yeah, right. So I was very mentally unwell at that time. I was going through it's called the OCD and Anxiety Treatment Center. It's exposure therapy, and we don't need to get too into that. But I was very mentally vulnerable, and I did think this was my only chance at love. I'm so chosen, you know, that
Without
mindset.
going without going deep into it, I think it's a crucial aspect of why narcissists do latch on to their victims. If and I mentioned that in the introduction, there are four types of women that narcissistic personalities will latch on, and there's the giver,
Yes.
there's the anxious attachment, there's the people like you going through a vulnerable life phase, and high achievers. So she did latch on to you because you were going through something difficult. So it's a very important aspect for the listeners if you're going through a similar situation. So I'm sorry I cut you off. So she latched on to you after 2 weeks, and what did that look like?
And Janik, actually, now that you've brought up those 4 types, I'm all of those. I'm a high achiever. I was extremely anxious, codependent, and then, I'm a huge giver, and I was going through transition. So it was all 4 of
There
those
you go.
just a magnet for a narcissist, also an empath. They love empaths. These
Hmm.
people have rejected the light and they didn't receive a lot of love growing up, so they latch on and they're energy vampires for
That's
empaths.
right. And you said you thought that was your opportunity to find the love of your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Did
So
she love bomb you? Was there a love bombing that came with that? Because to be attached within 2 weeks, there must have been a lot of love, a lot of a show of affection.
there was a lot of emotional manipulation. The first time I ever met her, and I talk about this in my podcast, episode 1, but with female narcissists, immediately as you meet them, they're going to immediately tell you very dark things that have happened in their childhood. And, unfortunately, and I like to be someone everyone can talk to, but it was like 5 traumatic experiences, and I had just said hi. It was like,
Wow.
and I don't get into a lot of details, but she was like, I was sex trafficked as a kid. My mom beat me, so there's a lot going on. And I have total sympathy, empathy for people that have gone through that. Absolutely. But it was so traumatic right away that that's not really normal for a normal person just to tell you that the second you meet them.
No, but you probably felt for her and wanted to help her and show her love that maybe she hadn't gotten. And that, you thought that maybe this woman could do with a little bit of your love. And, God bless you for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sad and that broke my heart. I've had a lot of traumatic experiences, but I don't tell strangers that. So
Absolutely.
it just unfortunately kind of looking back, that was emotional manipulation. It
Mhm.
was as soon as you feel bad for me, I can control you. And that's what she
Absolutely.
did.
And so 2 weeks in, she asks you to marry her and then tells
Mhm.
everyone around. Then what?
Yeah, she told everyone, which I was not okay with because she had texted me, asked me to marry her. I didn't even have a chance to talk to her about how I want that to look. I wanted us to be friends while she lived there, so it's professional. And as soon as she left the facility, we could start a relationship. She didn't do that. She just immediately told everybody. And when I told her, I said, I wasn't okay with that. This is private to me. I wish we could have talked first. She used the excuse, well, I'm autistic.
Okay.
And throughout a relationship, she would use that a lot to be really mean to me. And I've worked with autistic kids. I love the autistic community, but she dragged the autistic community through the mud. And it was
Mhm.
disgusting. She would use it as an excuse to be a mean person.
So she's in the facility. You went, what happened then? If you didn't want her to tell anyone else, you were seeing her every day. What happened after that? What was your
Well, she
dynamic?
told everyone, so everyone knew. And so I went to HR and I said, "Hey, I'm not here to cause trouble. This isn't how I wanted it to work out." Um, but this woman that I do like has told me she's dying. She has 6 months to live and she wants to fulfill those last 6 months with me. So they said, "Okay, we understand." They put me on a paid leave of absence, and in that time they worked on kicking her out of the facility. And I find out a year later because she told me she was asexual. She's like, I love you. I'm asexual. I don't let anyone touch me. In that week, I was on a paid leave. A CNA caught her having sex with a random man she met on Tinder.
Okay.
So we also have lies right off the get go. I'm asexual. I don't let anyone touch me. And now you're having sex with men. She also asked many male nurses to have sex with her.
Mhm. So she stays in there? Did they allow that in the
No,
facility?
they kicked her out. They full
Okay.
on kicked her out. But um, she told me, I've been harassed by this facility. I this CNA was taking pictures of me while I was in the shower. This one CNA cornered me and told me about their rape fantasy. All those are lies. And I ended up talking to that CNA a year later, who she was talking about. She would like expose herself to him in the shower. And then a bunch of CNAs were having a private conversation about weird fantasies. And that CNA had said, sorry, it was a female CNA. That CNA had said, "Oh, well, weird fantasy is a kidnapping fantasy." She was at the end of the hallway. She rolls up. She hears that, freaks out, and then tells everyone a CNA cornered her and told her for 4 hours about a rape fantasy. So it's just like so many lies, just skewing situations, going after CNAs, going after male nurses. It just was, you know, it was crazy. This behavior was not allowed there. So they full on kicked her out. But I didn't find out about this until a year later.
Okay. So from the moment she gets kicked out, you two are together. I'm guessing probably moving in together or seeing each other on a regular basis until you find out that she's addicted to opioids. Can you fill in the gaps here?
Yeah. So after she got kicked out, she still needed opioids. I just thought she was dying. So she told me they kicked me out and she was okay to go home because all she had was lupus. So, and she was dehydrated. She had an iron deficiency, but that was it. But I really thought they had just kicked out a dying girl. So it scared me. So, of course I'm going to take you to the hospital, and the hospital stays were all the same. She, you know, she would tell them her story about how she's dying, and they'd look at her records and she wasn't dying, but they wouldn't tell her that. They wouldn't tell me that. But they knew that. And they would see she was iron deficient. So they're like, "Okay, we need to put you on iron diffusions and you have lupus, but you're not dying," like she was telling me. So then she would leave the hospital and she'd have some kind of meds for her lupus and stuff. But that started just a continual habit of once a week, "Sage, I need to go to the hospital." And I would say, "I think you're okay." Like, she told me she had gastroparesis, which is paralysis of the stomach. And so she would just be standing there and be like, "I need to go throw up now." And she'd go in the bathroom and turn on the faucet, and I couldn't hear anything. And, normally when someone's about to throw up, they turn white,
Yeah.
they look horrible, they come out and need to lay down. It was just none of that. I knew that was a lie. I knew she wasn't throwing up. So, but it was just this, continuous, she was playing this role of this sick, dying girl with gastroparesis. Um, and once again, sympathy to all those that have gastroparesis. But my friend and I had lunch with her and she ate a whole Olive Garden meal. And my friend,
Oh,
who's a nurse that has patients with gastroparesis, said that should not even be possible for someone to
mhm.
do. They're just
Yeah, they have good
lies.
portions there as well. Yeah, they have good portions there. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so you throughout that whole year, you see a lot of red flags. You see a lot of things happening that don't make sense. Your body, your friends, your people around you are telling you something's off, something's wrong, it's not quite right. When is that moment that you find out that she's been lying to you and that she's actually addicted to opioids?
It really wasn't until a year later that I realized she was an opioid addict. I just thought she was dying and she was a little mentally unwell. One that really stuck out to me was she there's so many instances, but she had told me, I need meds, something's wrong with my feeding tube." And we had gone to the hospital and they said nothing's wrong with it. So, and she's like, "But something's wrong and I need meds." So she gets a knife and she says, I'm gonna cut myself. I need meds. I need this feeding tube out of me. And I looked at her and I said, I'm driving. And I said, you can't do that. So she says, okay, fine. Since you're going to be such a baby, I'll just use scissors. And she proceeds to cut above her belly button, and there's stomach acid coming out. She has gauze.
Oof. Wow.
And that's when I
Ugh.
realized something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Whew, that's created a bit of nausea for me.
Oh, yeah,
Cutting above her
absolutely.
belly button and then gastric internal fluids are flowing out of her and she's done that all on her own. Okay. Wow. First, I'm really sorry you had to experience that, see that, or be anywhere near that. That's high level of stress right there.
Thank you.
Where
I
did you
appreciate
go
that.
from there? Where first what's your where's your head at when you see that and when you realize that actually you've been living a lie?
Well, this is the most disturbing part. She didn't make any sounds, there was no noises, and she didn't look like she was in pain at all when she did that.
Mhm.
So you see how high of a dosage she was on these pain meds that it was painless to cut herself open. So then we go into the US medical healthcare system of who is managing her meds, helping her to wane off of these meds. And there's none of that here in the
Mm.
US medical system. They put people on these opioids, they get addicted, and they leave them for dead. And there's no accountability from these doctors or anything. It's just, okay, good luck. These people get addicted and then they do stuff like this because they need more. We
Absolutely.
need,
It's opioids
yeah,
are highly addictive, highly, highly addictive. And if you continuously take them, it's very hard to stop them. It's like taking, and I wouldn't know because I've never taken it, but from people who have experienced it, anyone who's had heroin, you can't just stop cold turkey. Anyone who's, an alcoholic, you can't stop cold turkey. It's just not, well, it's feasible, but you really have to be strong-willed and strong-minded. So yeah, there has to be a weaning off of the opioids. And
yeah,
yeah.
there's none of that. And there might be, I haven't heard of it. And every time I tell a doctor about this, they just say it's not their problem. So,
They prescribe
um,
them, but it's not their problem. Oh
it's
my
not their
God.
problem. They don't
That's a
care.
whole different topic.
It is.
Oof, that gets me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you find out, well, she's cut herself. You find out she's been lying. You find out she's actually addicted to drugs, opioids in this case. Uh,
To some degree, it clicked. It didn't fully click, but at that point, it was like,
you
what is
must have
going
felt
on?
you must have felt betrayed. You must have felt like you'd been living a lie. I mean, help me through your state of mind at that point.
Just pure terror. Um, I don't, how am I going to survive this? Um, if you'll hurt yourself like that, will you hurt me like that? Am I in danger myself? You are not in the right mind. And I'm all alone in this. And, I was, so there's Utah and the US, and some people probably know where that is. So we were in southern Utah, about an hour and a half from Vegas.
Okay.
So we had bounced back southern Utah, it's called St. George, southern Utah to Vegas, southern Utah to Vegas a few times um in a 2-week span. Reason being is we went to Vegas to have fun. I got my first tattoo there, and then she decides to pass out or just sit on the ground after that because I got attention, and she had to take care of me because it was 110 in the tattoo studio. They had fans, but AC wasn't working. So I get my first ever tattoo, she's yelling at me because I'm about to pass out. "Oh my gosh, you're such a baby. What's wrong with you?" Like, just crazy woman. Narcissists have no sympathy or empathy. That was a great example
Mhm.
of that. So she had to take care of me. She was mad about that. So she decides to pass out or just sit on the ground. Nothing's wrong.
Hmm.
And she says, in Caesar's Palace, if you know that casino,
Yeah.
she's like, "I can't get up. I need to go to the hospital." Nothing was wrong. Like, she's just acting. I think her iron deficiency was low, but at that point, she probably could have gotten an iron infusion from the hospital. Anyways, but she ends up going to the hospital, telling them she's dying. She's peeing out and pooping out blood and all this stuff that was lies.
It was
And so
time for
they
her
do.
to get her attention fix. It wasn't
Yep.
possible for you to get your completely valid amount of attention. No, 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 I had to be turned on to her.
Mhm. I had to
Dear.
take care of someone. Oh, well, I need to go fake that I'm dying now because I can't take care of people. I need tons of validation and attention. Yeah. And my mom
Oh,
told me this after and it clicked. I was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Yeah.
I'm so sorry you went through that kind of mm, personality around you. It's probably very eye-opening. So after living all of that, those lies, those actions, your body telling you it's not right, even the people around you not telling you it's right, when did you make that final decision to leave?
Well, um, my mom saved me, if I'm being entirely honest. I could not save myself from her. She had decided to um pass out like we talked about. We were bouncing around hospitals because nothing was wrong, but she needed meds. And we ended up in Vegas and she had I needed to get home, I needed to go back to work, and I needed to watch my dog. And I tried to leave, and she said, "If you leave, Sage, I'm gonna die. And I'm gonna die alone, and I have no one." And so in that 2-week period, there's multiple times where I tried to leave, but she had used these fear tactics of, "I'm gonna die. You're gonna feel horrible. You're gonna feel like shit, Sage, leaving a dying person to die alone." Just these creepy, scary scare tactics that would get me to stay. And she honestly could have called her grandparents to come down there. They could have gotten a plane ticket. She just is so selfish and doesn't care about anyone's lives that she had to put my life didn't matter. It was, "You need to
Mm.
stay. I'm dying, fake dying, and your life doesn't matter. Quit all your jobs. Who cares? I'm number one priority. I'm the only thing that matters." Just these narcissistic tendencies, no sympathy, no empathy.
Who How did she save you?
Well, my mom, we had a huge family reunion coming up, and my mom had texted me because I had been trying to leave and I had been talking to my parents for 2 weeks. My dad's hair was falling out. My mom was having all these mental breakdowns. And I said, "I don't know how I'm going to go." Like, I kept trying to leave. There was at one point where I tried to get my stuff to leave, but she wouldn't let me fi- um, get into this gated neighborhood. Reason she was in that is while we were in the hospital, she had gotten proposed to by this man she met on Tinder. And so while left to go clean the house in St. George, she had left and gone to his house
Mhm.
and wouldn't let me get my stuff to go back home. So just you
Okay.
see all these crazy tactics. But at the end of the 2 weeks, she was, I once again was still trying to leave. She would use these tactics. Finally, my mom texted me and said, "We have a family reunion coming up. If you're not home by Wednesday at 7 p.m., I'm canceling your ticket." So I told her that. She said, "Does she not understand I'm having surgery?" Blah, blah, blah. Just all this crazy. And she was, but, it was I was already so far gone, and
That's it.
I, I said I have to go. Got
When
home.
you went when you left, did you ever go back to her? Did you officially leave and that was it?
Oh, heck no. Heck
Mhm.
no. I literally
Bless your
just,
mama. Bless
yeah,
your parents.
I couldn't
Yeah.
even save myself from this woman. I was so
Mhm.
mentally gone, checked out, under lock and key mentally. Yeah. And I really do feel like my mom was inspired by God, and God really stepped in and just was so horrible and scary just towards that
E
end. Just,
yeah. Every
yeah.
situation has a silver lining, and what is the positive that you see now looking back from living this horrendous situation? What positive came out of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. My podcast where I literally talk with women and men and teach them the 5 red flags of female narcissists, and also that you're allowed to say no. And when you say no to people, you're protecting yourself from manipulation, being exploited, this situation with me, and to not be so dramatic, but if you can't say no, it's very possible you can get into a situation like this because you're not
Mhm.
putting your safety first. You're more worried about their feelings than to say no. People can manipulate you in any way, shape, or form if you can't say no. So
Absolutely. And for the
yeah,
listeners who are listening right now, what are the main red flags or the main signs that people should listen to if they're not feeling quite right in a relationship?
this is so interesting, but your body knows something's wrong before you even know. I was sick
Mhm.
all the time with her. My legs were on fire every single time I was around her. And it hurt so bad. It got to the point where I asked her to massage them. I was always in pain, always sick, constant UTIs, and we weren't having sex. So just that was funny too, is we weren't having sex. I was getting constant UTIs. My whole system was freaking out. Listen to your
Yeah.
body. Are you getting stomach aches? Are you getting headaches? Something's wrong. Listen to that. Right? So there's your body, then there's your gut. If something feels off, it's off. Stop explaining it
Absolutely.
away. Stop saying it's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. Listen to yourself. Right? And I have all these people, we have, whether you believe in this or not, we have all these angelic guides around us that are
Mhm.
telling us something's wrong. Listen to them.
Hmm.
We have people all
What
around us.
It's so important. We were, even if they're living or non-living, we are guided all the time. And I think we just need to follow our intuition and the signs that are given to us. And if we're not in tune to those signs, our body, life will continue to throw things at us. Pain, like you mentioned it earlier. You just have to follow your gut at the end of the day. Just before we end, and I really like to ask this question to all the guests that come on a podcast. What was your spark to get out of that situation?
Uh,
What was your
help
why?
to get out of that situation.
Mhm.
It was realizing that I didn't want to live this way for the rest of my life. I didn't
Mhm.
want to live with this person, with these lies, with this, this person doesn't want to get better. She just wanted me to die with her. And I
That's
don't want to
it.
live that way.
Beautiful. Sage, can you tell us where we can find you, your website or your podcast? Give us the details where we can follow you.
Yeah. I'm on everything. A Lights Out Narcissistic Podcast. I'm on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Deezer, Amazon Music. I'm on everything. You can go to my Instagram, Saige, SAIGE_W. There's a link to my website, but it's episode 4 goes over the steps of how to say no and set boundaries. And if you're having a hard time with that, definitely listen to episode 4. It's already out. I'm just really trying to raise awareness to protect yourself and say no and regain your life. Get your life back.
Hmm. We're going to put
That's
the details in the summary. Thank you so much, Saige, for coming on and sharing your inspiring journey of getting out of such unpleasant, terrifying, life debilitating journey. So I really apologize you went through this.
It's okay. If it wasn't for her, I would still not be able to set boundaries and say no. So
So there is a
now
positive.
I'm living my own life. If you can't do those things, other people are living your own life. I live my own life now, and I live my truth. So it was
To
worth it.
all you Absolutely. To all you beautiful souls out there who are finding it hard to understand why your relationship feels off or your body's telling you, giving you signs, and just know you're not alone. Just know that you are seen and that you are allowed to set your boundaries and question the person in front of you. And if it doesn't feel right, run. Run for your life, because your life is worth living,
Yeah.
to the fullest without having these people around you. So thank you for sharing again your journey, Saige. And for all of you, this is it for us for today. Tune in every week on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want to get involved, as I mentioned before, with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community, or you want to share what kind of journey you've been in or impact you have on others or experience you've lived, write us and we'll connect together at www.beguidedbeinspired.com. Write us and we'll connect. Let's change the world of women one conversation at a time. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.